Just after midnight in October of 2009, a highway patrolman found a car stopped on the shoulder of a desert interstate with its engine running, its headlights on, and its driver's door open. The driver, a 28-year-old nurse named Dana Merrick, was gone. That is a story police know how to work. But while the patrolman stood beside the empty car, writing down its plate, Dana's phone rang her sister 200 miles away. And it kept calling, every 40 minutes, for 6 more hours, from a phone that was sitting in plain view on the passenger seat, dark, and never once in use. Stay with me, because the phone records only get worse. Dana Merrick was driving home overnight from her mother's house, a route she had done a dozen times, 5 hours of flat highway with one gas stop in the middle. She was reliable about check-ins. She had called her sister Louise at 10:40 p.m. from the gas stop, cheerful, tired, half a tank and 3 hours to go. That call was ordinary and it was real, and it was the last time anyone can prove Dana Merrick existed. The patrolman found the car at 12:19 a.m., 61 miles past the gas stop. Everything about it said sudden interruption. Engine idling. Heater on. Her purse on the floor. Her shoes, both of them, in the driver's footwell, which investigators never liked, because people do drive in socks, but they do not usually walk into a cold desert without stopping to put their shoes back on. Her phone lay face up on the passenger seat. There were no other tire tracks in the sand of the shoulder, no footprints leading away, no sign of struggle, and no Dana, not that night, not in the air search at dawn, not in the weeks of ground teams that followed, not ever. At 12:31 a.m., while the patrolman was still at the car, Louise's phone rang in another state. The screen said Dana. Louise answered on the first ring and heard what she first took for a bad connection, a soft, rhythmic rushing, like whine through something hollow, or like breathing slowed far down. She said her sister's name maybe 20 times. Just before the call ended, Louise testified, the rushing stopped, completely, into a silence so total it did not sound like a phone anymore, and out of that silence, very faint and very far away, a voice that was Dana's said one word. Louise has never told anyone, not even the police at first, what she thought of when she heard it, because the word was north, and Dana said it. Louise insisted, the way you answer a question. As if someone had just asked her where she was being taken. The calls came at 1:12, at 1:53, at 2:34, onward through the night, every 41 minutes, with a precision no person dials. Rushing air, then silence, then nothing. The police told Louise to keep answering, and recorded the later ones, and the recordings exist, and everyone who analyzes them agrees on what they contain, which is no usable signal, no voice, no background that matches any known environment. Analysts could not even establish that the sound was open air. One of them wrote, in a report he probably regrets, that the acoustics resembled a very large enclosed space. Here is what the investigators could never explain, and it is not the sounds. It is the routing. Every call from Dana's number that night was logged by the carrier, and every log lists the transmitting tower. The 10:40 call from the gas stop routed normally, through a real tower that stands there today. But the 6 calls after midnight all routed through a single site the records identify as Tower 9 on that highway corridor. The carrier was asked to provide the location of Tower 9. And after 3 weeks, the carrier answered, in writing, that there was no Tower 9. The corridor had 8 towers. A 9th had been planned in 2004, surveyed, assigned its designation in the network, and then cancelled before construction. It existed on paper, in the routing tables, as a set of coordinates in the empty desert 11 miles north of Dana's car. Nothing was ever built there. There is no power, no antenna, no structure. 6 connected, logged, billed telephone calls were carried that night by a tower that is a blank spot of sand. Police drove to the coordinates, because of course they did. They found the desert floor, some survey stakes rotted to stubs, and, according to the incident report, a roughly circular area about 40 feet across where the ground was, the report says, disturbed, without saying how, and where their handheld radios did not work until they stepped out of it. Dana's phone, the physical phone from the passenger seat, was examined and showed nothing. No outgoing calls after 10:40. Battery at 60%. By every measure of the device itself, it had spent the night asleep on the seat of an idling car. The calls that rang Louise's phone all night carried Dana's number and Dana's identity through the network, but according to her own handset, they never happened. Something else made them. Something that knew her number, held her voice, and was moving, or was held, in a place whose only address in this world was a tower that never got built. The last call came at 6:17 a.m., as the sky was going gray. Louise answered. This time there was no rushing air. There was the silence, immediately, the huge enclosed silence, and it lasted 4 minutes, the longest of any call, and Louise sat in her kitchen with the phone to her ear and her husband's hand on her shoulder, saying nothing, because by then she had stopped asking. At the end, before the line dropped for the last time, the recording, which the family has heard and the public has not, captures a sound the analysts labeled, for lack of anything better, as a door. Not a car door. A heavy one. Closing, not opening. Dana Merrick was never found. The car went back to her family, the case went cold, and the carrier quietly removed Tower 9 from its routing tables the following year, a correction of records, they called it. The highway is still there, and the gas stop, and 11 miles north of a certain mile marker, a circle of desert where survey stakes rot in the ground for a structure no one ever raised. Her sister kept the same phone number for years, and kept the phone charged on the nightstand, every night. Because the calls came from a place that does not exist, and only twice has she ever said out loud the thing that keeps her charging it, nothing that calls you 6 times in one night is trying to say goodbye. It is trying to tell you where north is. And someday, she believes, on some night, from Tower 9, it is going to finish.